Hey, what's up guys, Rev here. So today we're going to cover another round of VTuber related drama, and as you can see from the main protagonist here, we're not off to a great start. But before we get into the fine details of the situation, I want to give you a too long didn't read version of events to give you guys some greater understanding of what we're going to talk about here. So basically we have a situation where a VTuber by the name of Powdur would call out another VTuber. As you can see, Powdur has around 34,000 followers, and she would call out this VTuber named Lily, who also goes by the name Royalty, who has about 2,000 followers, a small fraction of what Powdur has. Now, what Powdur is doing is they are claiming that essentially Royalty ripped off all of their design and their concept as a VTuber as a whole, and are trying to ride on the coattails of their success. And when Royalty would release a Google Doc explaining their side of the situation, that there was no ill intent or a lot of things were just coincidences, and that they were even willing to change some of the details to accommodate Powdur, Powdur would then respond with basically a mean girl routine mocking the situation, and it made Powdur look very bad. And I'm also going to hit you guys with kind of the money shot here. Here are the two models in question. We are comparing Powdur on the left here to Royalty on the right. Now, as you can see, this person right here is kind of mocking the situation. Basically, Powdur is relying on the fact that these look the exact same, and on top of that, she is relying on the thought process that apparently she owns the concept of a white-haired elf with supernatural attributes, which is really crazy to say. I mean, like, what are you going to do? Make a call-out post on Freered next? It's very strange. But let's get into the details of this situation. Here's Powdur, as you can see, a demon or daemon VTuber. I'm not sure what the correct pronunciation is, but this term will be very important in a few minutes. So a few days ago, she made this vague but not so vague call-out post on Twitter saying this: I just want to come out and say that I am aware there is another VTuber in the space with a similar design, color, and, well, lore name. I have already made efforts in the past to communicate with both artist and VTuber. Not much happened other than I was able to voice my concern. And you can see the reception to this was pretty positive. About 2,000 likes, only 7 quotes, most of them positive, by the way. And they would end their statement with this saying, knowing what I know about the creation of the look-alike, I am disappointed and I do question ethics. But overall, there is only one Powdur. I do not wish to bar people from inspiration, but I do wish people would be more creative. Obviously, a pretty serious set of statements here, essentially calling this other person a lookalike, implying that they're ripping off their design and concept. However, because of not only the very direct nature of this, like I said, vague but not so vague call-out post, and their history, Lily, aka Royalty, would know this post was about them, and they would make a Google Doc response here saying, hi everyone, I haven't been online, but I've been made aware of a situation. Here is my response with receipts, and I apologize for any further concerns anyone has. I do not condone any hate being spread on behalf of this. I hope this clears the air. And this is the beginning of the Google Doc where they share that her and Cherry, the artist behind the model, had already contacted Powdur a year ago about the situation when they revealed their redesign at that time. And they attempted to even accommodate some of these concerns that Powdur had. But basically this all boiled down to Powdur saying, I hear what you're saying, but I just don't believe you. So here's some of the DMs. So Powdur reaches out and says, hey Royalty, I don't want any of this to come across as hostile by any means, but I have concerns about your design combined with your lore daemon. It took me very long to come up with the design for my character and my lore, which fits with the daemon term because I am a computer program, which is what a daemon is. Now, I looked into this, and this was shared in the Google Doc. That term and its spelling, yes, it has a computer-based definition as well, but that's also a historic and biblical reference to demons in general and also some other supernatural beings. So that's not just a computer term. She was within her right to label herself with this term because, as she points out in her initial response, she has a demon concept. She wanted to do an elf with long white hair. That is a pretty classic trope among anime and also VTubers. And they had this old spelling, this old English version of spelling demon that went along with their lore and their concepts. And then Powdur would respond by sharing a DM from a supposed mutual basically saying that they believed that royalty was a ripoff of Powdur, and Powdur would say this attached to the screenshot. I don't mean to sound rude, but I don't believe you about the motivation behind your lore. I just want to avoid these types of messages from mutuals, and I feel uncomfortable knowing you knew of me during the design process, because apparently royalty was following Powdur at the time, which to Powdur that meant that they knew them and knew all about everything to do with their account and their concept. But then you would see further responses from Powdur saying that basically they tacked on elf and now it's too similar, and these similarities did catch the eyes of others, and they're wondering in the future if there's any more comparisons, and they don't want to cause any more trouble, and they would be nervous if they were royalty because the design is so similar. And then basically they end by saying, is there any room to wiggle on either of these things, basically relating to the various concepts behind royalty's VTuber character. And they would respond with a statement from their artist as well, but they would say, I'm sorry you feel the way you do, but I really don't know what else to tell you, and I don't mean to sound rude either, but I really don't appreciate basically being called a liar. If you don't want to believe me, then don't. But as you can see, after I gave my description of what I was wanting, that is the first design that was presented to me, and I loved it. There were no references to you at all, and you weren't even part of the design process. And going forward, they would share some more details and also clarify that they had this term daemon or demon, and they were willing to change it to the regular spelling of demon to accommodate the concerns of Powdur, who would then reply by saying basically they appreciate this and they are just sad about this situation, and there's going to be speculation that there's some sort of weird situation going on between these two, and that's kind of where it lied for that moment. And they would also add here too that they feel weird about this whole thing, and they're not trying to be aggressive, and they're giving advice. But that's where we're at with that Google Doc. That's essentially the majority of what's on there. And then we would see Cherry here, who is the artist and rigger behind the model and the concept, who would release their own brief statement about this situation and basically share some DMs, further clarifying that there is no intent to copy. It's pretty straightforward, and then Royalty would respond basically saying that they try to work this out, and it seems like they're just kind of at an impasse here. And also mentioned through this, at several points, we saw Powdur mention that they would make a statement in the future if they felt the need to. And that's what they did with that initial call-out post. And seeing the Google Doc and a lot of the information being clarified, Powdur would make a very ill-advised response video. This was a few hours after Royalty had made her Google Doc, and it says, my response. And I can't play the video, it's got copyrighted music, but basically it's like some weird TikTok type meme video where they're showing side-by-side comparisons of their models, essentially trying to once again claim that there was some sort of stealing of concepts here. And you can see, based on comparing this post to her original vague call-out post, this one went really badly. The other one had about 2,000 likes with only 7 quotes. This one has about 600 likes with over 100 quotes. People saw the way this was framed and some of her responses and the replies, and it came off like a mean girl type breakdown, right? And you can see also, right in the first reply, she directly tagged the artist and the VTuber so people can immediately go to their accounts, and also with this kind of passive-aggressive for you language added onto it, it's not a very good look. And you can see at first, when it was going positively for the first like hour or so, she was kind of like joking in the replies. People said that video is nasty work, absolutely diabolical, where Powdur replied saying, the parasites in my head made me do it. But things would start breaking down when people started to really think this whole thing is mean-spirited and just kind of childish and immature. Where this user said, girl, this is not it. Why are you being so unnecessarily mean? Where Powdur says, humor is my coping mechanism, where the other user replies saying, it doesn't make it any less malicious, just talk shit behind closed doors, then, I don't know, dude, I hope she never sees it so she isn't unnecessarily harassed. Where Powdur said, I tagged her so it's a little too late if she doesn't want to see it, which of course you could reply by saying, just delete it to prevent further harassment. But then another person would say, I don't know, man, I think a simple tweet saying you know Lily's design and have talked to them behind the scenes was all you needed to say. Quite frankly, your lack of professionalism brought this on. No such thing as vagueness on the internet. You forced small creators into a defense. And she replies with an original call-out post, the vague one, which of course she's ignoring the fact that she also added on things like this, where she's saying that she knew there was a look-alike, and this whole thing was brought on by her going public with this situation. But on top of that, another user would say, dude, this ain't it. Tonight I read a total of 72 Google Doc pages between both sides, and all I can say is, bruh, just stop. You're both adults, behave as such, and move on. Where Powdur says, oh yes, I'm going to leave it here, no worries. I mean, damn, I ain't doing another doc, LMAO. Tomorrow is a fresh new day for Dark Souls, which is like a weird stream plug. But yes, there's 2 Google Docs, because lost in this fray, they attached a Google Doc response to that video where they were basically trying to mock the entire situation that they created for themselves. And in that doc, there's really not a whole lot. Basically kind of just reiterating everything we already know and trying to rely on speculation to frame the other party as ripping her off. But I think this section is the most telling. Let me read this section from her Google Doc, Powdur's Google Doc, saying, a message to the haters. You might look at me as just some dumb, whining anime girl, but this is my job. I take it very seriously, and a lot of planning when it's my VTuber model. It is my brand. I use this to stand out as much as possible. Don't come at me with the, you're bullying a smaller account. Okay, weirdo. I built my success using my brand/model, so I'm going to feel a little uncomfortable. I know exactly what it feels like to be that smaller account. I'm going to be uncomfortable when the design looks like my OC in an alt outfit. The lore name is the same, color palette similar. The artist has a similar art style to mine. They, artist and VTuber, actively follow me. Oh, and other people are actively pointing out the similarities throughout the whole process. I don't know, man. The math is mathin' for me. You can call me dramatic, but I ain't blind. I hope you achieved what you wanted in the end. I'm not attacking anyone for being small or trying to post this at a bad time. If anything, this probably just helps them so. Yeah, this is kind of coming off as a bit egotistical, okay? I'm going to be honest. Like, yes, Powdur, you have some success as a VTuber. You are not like Iron Mouse, okay? You're acting like you're so high and above everything. This is kind of ridiculous to believe that you own color palettes, that you own the concept of a white-haired elf or the term demon. It's getting a bit much. And many VTubers, including myself and content creators in general, have dealt with similar situations where someone has similar concepts as you, similar types of content or the way they build their content. But at the end of the day, you are you. And all you can do is focus on yourself. And unless someone is 100% ripping you off entirely, that is a situation you can worry about. But situations where people have similar concepts or take inspiration from you, even like directly taking inspiration from you, it's okay. That's why we end up in situations where every single time there's a new pink-haired cat girl on the scene, someone's calling her a rip-off Nyanners, or someone comes out as an aquatic-themed VTuber and they're called a rip-off of Shy Lily, and so on and so forth. It's really ridiculous how people think a given VTuber owns an entire set of concepts. The market right now with VTubers is so oversaturated, I can't even begin to understate that, okay? It is very oversaturated. People are going to overlap on their concepts. That is a natural thing to happen. But anyways, someone would point out that section of the Google Doc saying it's very weird, where Powdur would simply reply by saying, if the shoe fits, where that user says, going around to every quote tweet, replying to criticism with sarcasm isn't going to help you win any hearts over. I recommend considering it's 4 a.m. my time to go to sleep. Take some time away from Twitter and maybe reach out privately where they say, thank you, I'll definitely consider that. You get some good rest. And this person says, I recommend doing it instead of just considering it. Where then Powdur says, no, mom, I'm a big girl now. And then this user says, acts like one then. And then she replies with this like emo gif here saying, I'm so sad. It looks so childish. And then things would get worse when the next morning, Elara would do a stream. And during that stream, they're talking about this situation with Powdur. and royalty, and Powdur would join the stream. Not only were they in the replies of the chat saying things like some parties sharing their opinion are too biased because they've worked with the model or the creator of the artwork, but on top of that, they would join in, like I said, and things would get really messy really fast. And basically, I'm going to share a couple of clips here, but in essence, what you're going to hear is Powdur doubling, tripling, and quadrupling down on all of their posts, including the sarcastic and, quite frankly, somewhat rude responses they had over the past 24 hours. And you can even see Alara trying to kind of push them towards the right response, and they still just make some pretty unhinged remarks.
And you were emotional,
I didn't
but unfortunately that's what
intend
happened.
harm from other people. I intended harm from myself to them, right?
Yeah, but that's not what happened, girl.
I understand.
That's not what happened at all.
I understand, but I'm trying to like get your advice in this. Should
Well, like,
I
would never really
say that I
would never really
admit
like
that I
intend
was-
harm from me to somebody else. You know, like I don't think
well,
that way.
Yes,
She does
one of these
recognize
people.
that she acted a little rashly and you know, it acknowledges that. Is that fair? Is that good? I don't want to put words in your mouth,
Yes.
Powdur.
No, I do feel like I acted emotionally. I agree. Do I regret what I've done? No. Am I currently still emotional about it? Yeah, probably. Do I want to apologize? No.
I think you should. But
Yeah,
again,
I appreciate that.
You know, that's something that's on you. If
yeah.
you want to do that, that is up to you.
Right.
Everything becomes more and more of this is just bound to happen. You know what I mean? Like, it sucks, but
Yeah.
I think you've said your piece. I think,
Yeah.
I would
think you're
probably
right.
take down this snarky response, but you know,
I'm not. But I appreciate
yeah,
the
no, I understand.
the
That is your
advice.
choice, girly.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I don't think any of that did anything to help out the situation. In fact, I think her responses on that stream made this situation even messier for Powdur. I mean, it's coming off like mean girl behavior, and the inability to apologize or to recognize any of her mistakes is making this worse. The best thing she could have done is take down that most recent post, or really take down all of the related posts, and simply make something that looks like an apology or something that looks like they're trying to move on or to condemn the harassment that was directed towards the other VTuber in this situation. But for now, that's going to do it. Obviously, we're dealing with a lot of subjective stuff and people are entitled to their own opinions, so I'd be glad to hear what you guys have to say about this situation in the comments section down below. But that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.